collaboration model for impact investors and fintech startups to create more social good for the unbanked. Many clever words, many interesting words. We will try to clarify them from the practical experience from different sectors in the following panel. It will be four of us. I'll be one of the speakers, but I would like to invite first of all Mr. Tal Garih, Strategic Planning Manager in the Alarko Holding. He will be the one who will moderate our panel. Please take your seat. Then we have Severios Aydin, the gentleman from Switzerland, who will speak his experience in the field with doing this for real. Then Mr. Tahir Mahmoud, Head of Business Development from Nasdaq in Dubai. His valuable experience will help us, I'm sure. And I'm Renata Brkic. I'm the founder of one social impact investment fund for Croatia and Slovenia, and I'm an impact entrepreneur for a long time. So I think we have ensured the right mix of people to discuss this emerging topic. Hello.
Hello, everyone, distinguished guests, esteemed panelists, welcome. Great to have you, and looking forward for this panel. Thank you. Thank you. And we have great panelists and a very exciting topic at hand, so let's tackle it the best way possible in the time allowed. Well, today's topic is collaboration models between financial technologies, between fintechs, and impact investors. The aim, the goal, is to create more social good for the unbanked, for those to enable the poorest and least fortunate. At the end of the day, fintechs, startups in general, but especially fintechs, are disruptors, are game changers, and they're influencing everything very rapidly in a way that is going to disrupt literally everything. Financial technologies can address a wide array of socio-economic problems, including gender equality to slavery. We see the rise of the notion of impact investment, a trend of commercial enterprises that work not only to turn a profit, but to do so in a humane manner. Fintech for the social good enables greater access to basic human amenities for their populations. So in accord, this panel is going to focus on ways impact investors can collaborate with fintechs for the social good, and how they can develop solutions for the unbanked, for those who need it the most, around 2 billion people globally. Esteemed panelists, again, welcome. It's lovely to have you. Ms. Barbara Lang, Mr. Tahir Mahmoud, and Mr. Severios Aydin. Very nice to meet you and have you here. So let's get right at it. Let's start with ladies first, as they say. So Ms. Lang.
No, I'm Renata Brkic.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Ms. Brkic.
Barbara needs to leave.
My apologies. Ms. Brkic.
Yeah.
What do you think is the unique role fintechs play in this domain? Why are fintechs game changers? How can financial technologies fasten and enable the impact process and increase productivity and effectivity?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the question. Fintech industry, fintech startups and fintech breakthrough technologies are actually very attractive to investors, all kinds of investors, because they are like in the bottom line of the unicorns to be today. And since this is changing so fast in the past years, and they are breakthrough technologies. How can they support impact and how they can work for impact, same as for the non-impact industries, but fintech startups and solutions are very interesting also for the impact investors. Why? Because of the reach, because of the cost savings that they enable, and because of the huge majority, still huge portion of population that is still unbanked today and that still has no access to, I would dare to say, even electricity, and not and then mobile phones, and then technology as such.
Yes. Thank you very much. Mr. Mahmoud Tahir, what opportunities do fintechs offer to the unbanked population of the world? What especially is dear for the unbanked here?
Thank you very much, Tal. As you said, the unbanked are nearly close to 2 billion adults today that are unbanked. And we also see that 67% of the population by the end of this year is expected to have a mobile phone. In the previous panel, they spoke about M-Pesa as a solution to help those unbanked that unbanked population in East Africa. But again, the way I look at it is something like M-Pesa does help to move money between people. So it's more of instead of physically having to go and see someone and give them money, it's giving it through your mobile phone. But the question to be asked is this really the only problem there is when we look at unbanked population, or is there something more? When we look at banking, why do we use banking? Okay, for some of us it's to receive our salaries and to keep the money in there until we spend it. But then there's also an element of spending. There's an element of investing as well, and making money, making profit or interest on the money that sits in the bank. I think that's an element that we need to reach out to the unbanked as well. I think fintech is extremely important. The question also to be asked is how many of the population that has mobile phones actually has a smartphone? Because today there's some fantastic applications out there when it comes to mobile phones and fintech, but how much percentage of that unbanked population has a smartphone that they can take advantage? So I think there are solutions that are already out there from a fintech perspective that help the unbanked, but I think there's still a long way to go. And I think as more of this unbanked population starts using smartphones, more access they will have to the fintech applications.
Thank you, Tahir. Thank you. As you said, there's a long way to go, and according to Mr. Aydin Severios, I'll ask you the following question. Where will innovation come from? What is the future? Which fintech features show the most promise for the unbanked, do you think? Or what do you currently focus on? Is it telecommunication? Is it healthcare? Is it blockchain technologies? What is the future? Where will the innovation come from?
Well, it depends on which goal you want to approach, or which problem, which global challenge you want to solve. I'm coming from the NGO side. My first environment was a commodity, but since 6 years I'm working on the ground with my NGO in war zones, supporting war-affected people and victims of poverty with different solutions, basically with outdated solutions, because you don't see in the humanitarian or development sector a lot of innovation as you see in other sectors, and that's a big problem. We are looking to solve major global challenges that are summarized in the 17 SDGs issued by the UN and its member states by 2013, and in order to solve that we need definitely technical solutions. I see, especially in the development or social impact sector, the rise of blockchain technologies and who can bring peer-to-peer aid and peer-to-peer donations and transparency. There I see a very big potential, and this is also a sector where we are started to focus on since 1 year to develop a solution for covering the last mile and ensuring transparency and that aid reaches really the end beneficiaries on the ground that are really in need and need the funds on their mobile phone, for example. This is something we're focused on since 1 year as well. well, in this case, we are involved in blockchain, and there I see a very big potential.
Super, thank you. Madam, similar question. How can fintech for the social good make the most good? Which industries and social issues should impact investments focus on? Which areas would have the most reach and the most influence? Is it energy, telecommunication, healthcare, banking, education, gender equality? What do you think is should
Keep counting.
how can impact investment make the most good with fintechs?
uh, Impact should be sector agnostic. So impact was, as Severius just said, was somehow summarized in these 17 topics and 17 SDGs. So, but it should be global and it should be universal. Every solution, every industry has in the bottom line a solution of some problem. Every entrepreneur works on a solution of some problem, being more or less aware about that he or she is doing some impact in parallel. So in every industry you can find the tools and the ways how to achieve the social impact, not only the social impact but environmental impact, and where you can try to reach these three P's: people, planet and profit. So there are no specific industries, but when we are even this word unbanked, who are these 2 billion unbanked people? They can be people with no access to banks, with no bank account. They can be people living in poverty, people with no access to education, but they can also be the farmers in the remote areas of some vast countries who are entrepreneurs and who want to are in need for some microfinancing or microcrediting. This is how the pioneer of the impact story, Mr. Yunus, started by giving these $100 small credits to the farmers. And then it has become a trend, and then it was growing, but everybody was doing it manually throughout Nigeria, throughout India, and then it has become impossible recording of all of that. So this is where the guys jumped in with the first fintech solutions when they would provide the platforms for finance providers first to be able to reach more of their clients. We have a great company from Croatia. They are the developers of, they're called, the name is Oradion, and they have developed the platform in Croatia, but they have sold it in India, in Nigeria, in Malaysia, and they have made their clients increase their client base by more than half year by year, and so they're really double digits growth by using it. So sector agnostic, there is room as long as we have these 2 billion people, there is room, and this is an opportunity, a business.
The more the welcome.
Yeah.
The more the welcome.
Yeah.
Mr. Mahmoud Tahir, as you work at the stock exchange and whatnot, what is the smartest capital and types of finance for fintech for the social good? What do you think would be the best mix for finance for fintech startups? Is it angel investors? Is it institutional? Is it half-half? What do you think?
Look, I think it's going to be quite broad. So it you should be looking at different types of investors, from angel investors all the way up to institutional investors. I think it depends on what your solution is, how big it is, how much finance you require, how big of a problem it is solving as well, which is quite important. And again, each level, as you go to more of the complex if you look at angels and personal finance and going to friends and family, a lot of individuals, when you start going to them, for them is more of a social impact investing, is more seen looking towards it being a charitable investment. So they're not looking for any returns as long as there's an impact. As you start moving up the ladder and as you start getting to the big institutional investors, that's where the real questions start getting asked. That's where they start looking into detail, and that's where they want to know exactly how much of their money is going to the actual cause that you're raising the money to. And that's where it becomes a lot more complex. So I think, and that's also where they want to see that impact and be able to continuously ask you the question, where is this money now? What change has it made? And I guess for new fintechs, depending on the scale of funds they're looking, it's always good to start small. Show the investors that you're making a difference, the money is being used, and then start working up the ladder.
Follow-up question to you, Mr. Mahmoud. What role can crowdfunding platforms, accelerators, and personal finance play here? So again, what sort of investors are good for fintech businesses? Do you think that fintech businesses for the unbanked could enjoy from crowdfunding platforms, could utilize accelerators as well?
Yeah, I think accelerators are very important because a lot of entrepreneurs we see in fintech today are, their background might be technology, they might be developers, or they might have a very niche skill. Personally, I think accelerators are important for entrepreneurs, for them to institutionalize themselves, for them to learn about the corporate practices and how to build their business in the right way. Because at the end of the day, if they're looking at going to raise finance from big investors, investors will look at how the company is structured, how it's set up. And accelerators are very important to help grow the business and learn, for entrepreneurs to learn key skills. When it comes to crowdfunding and personal finance, of course, personal finance is something which is the first step entrepreneur will go to. Crowdfunding, again, is very important. It's a way for you to capture finance globally. So you're not sticking to a certain city or a certain country. Going to a good crowdfunding platform should have investors from all around the world. But it's not easy raising money through crowdfunding. It's not easy getting accepted by some of the leading crowdfunding platforms globally either. So you have to have a good idea, you have to have a good business case, and your application has to be very strong in order to be accepted. But it's a great way for you to raise money through crowdfunding. And the good thing about crowdfunding today is you have those platforms where they're equity-based or debt-based, and then you also have those platforms that are charitable-based. So it's a good way for fintechs who are looking to solve an social impact problem to go to one of these platforms. And then, as I mentioned in the previous answer, I think what sort of investors are good for fintech businesses? I think every investor is good for fintech businesses. But again, it's an investor that understands what you're trying to do and understands fintech as well. One thing I always say is to entrepreneurs is when you're going to raise money, don't just look at the check the investor is going to write. Look at how much they understand you and how much they understand your business and how much value they'll bring to your business.
Okay. Thank you so much. Mr. Aydin Severius, how can collaboration be made? What type of collaboration models could be adopted to accelerate impact investment? How can solutions be implemented in the most effective manner? Basically, what should be the best practices for collaboration in this field?
Well, my point of view, I suggest to collaborate with the ones who are close to the people we want to make an impact for. And we see today these are mainly charities who are working on the ground. We are working mainly for our project from the perspective of the end beneficiaries, of the people who are affected by war, who are affected by poverty and need a change and need support. And there is lots of great impact investment ideas, impact projects around the world. But the main problem where I see it is they don't understand the main needs of the people, of their potential customers, or their potential target community. So there should be a collaboration, a tight collaboration with local entities such as NGOs, institutions, governments, maybe governmental agencies who are close, very close to that people that need to be supported through these impact projects. And we are working, for example, just to give you an example, in Syria we have started an impact forum last summer where we gave the opportunity to students to create their own impact ideas with the main requirement to create jobs and income for their communities and environment. And we see during that forum we have invited 20 young teams who presented their ideas, and we saw that the majority of these ideas were based on education, psychosocial support, and agriculture projects. Mm-hmm. And if you work very tightly with these people and support them also with educational programs, great projects, great impact projects will occur. And we have started to fund each project with a very small amount, between $2,000 and $5,000. And now today we see more than 100 jobs were created out of 7 impact projects in 1 year. And income and support, sustainable support and development for the people who have been internally displaced. And now they can sustain and help themselves through these innovation projects and this impact forum.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you so much. Madam, what do you think? What should be the best practices for collaboration?
I will
The ABCs.
I will tell you from the perspective of an investor. I'm an impact investor, and I'm an impact entrepreneur as such. And with me, it is intrinsic. It is not that one day you decide and say, I will be impact entrepreneur or I will be impact investor because I want to make impact. No, I want that the children in my country think out of the box, that they don't experience repetitive learning, that they are creative, that they have access to the 3D printers. And then I deal with, and how do I achieve it? I achieve it by doing the science promotion and communication. And in order to be able to do it, I need to be profitable, I need to earn money and to be sustainable. And this is how you become an impact entrepreneur. And then in my case it was very successful and very fast, and many new impact spin-off projects emerged out of that who were in need for money. And then I went around trying to find the money. So what can you do? If you go to the governments and to the grants, it's a one-time finance, and it doesn't ensure sustainability, and it doesn't promote entrepreneurship. So I went to seek for the investments from the risk capital, and this is how I have become the impact business angel, because I was investing my money in these companies, and then when the more was needed, I have ended up founding a social impact venture fund and putting together the investors to put together a fund for these kinds of projects. So it's not, as I told you in the beginning, you decide I will do the impact now, and I will be, it has to be all connected, intrinsic, and with no hidden agenda behind. It comes naturally, and it is very fashionable now, because the planet is in trouble, and the civilization is in trouble, I would say, politically. So that's where from the SDGs were invented, and people are trying to ensure some sustainability, but it is fashionable, but it is also difficult, because impact investing and in whether it's fintech business or any other business, is more than just investing for profit. Profit is mandatory, so it's not charities, it's not philanthropy. But in addition to profit, impact investments want to see the clear results and clear impact measurement, what the gentleman was just saying. And how do you measure? You measure it by the number of people you have reached, number of clients you have reached. So the more of them you reach, the more money you earn, but also the more impact you perform. So this is where we are today, and the serious investors. There is a movement that's been on for the past 6 years on figuring out this impact investing, setting up the impact investing criteria. How do you measure it? And so that we all explain to ourselves that this makes sense.
On a global scale.
Yes, on a global scale. You impact, I mean, we all breathe the same air.
Exactly. Agreed. Well said. Thank you so much. Mr. Mahmoud, what do you think are the main problems and impediments here, though? Right? I mean, it's not easy. So what should be done more politically and regulation-wise, you think?
Okay. Just to continue on the point around impact investors, respect to profit, I think one of the key things is the fact that when it comes to impact investors, if they didn't get that profit they were expecting, they wouldn't cry as much as if they invested in a non-social impact project. So there is that element of investors do understand that as long as a difference is made, we don't really need, it's okay if we don't get the profit back. Unless it's institutional investors, they just want a profit regardless. Looking at the problems, I think one of the biggest problems is education. Education is key from a perspective of creating awareness around what are the problems out there. What problems is social impact investing trying to fix? And once we know the problems, we'll realize, okay, what sort of solution needs to be created. When you talk about social impact investing, I think in the developed countries, people just think about food, saying people don't have food, and that's the problem that needs to be fixed. But I think there's a much bigger problem than just food and shelter. And I think at the beginning, Tal, where you started listing all the sectors and areas, there's various problems that social impact investing can face. So education is very big. From a political and regulatory perspective, politically, governments really need to support this. They really need to look at their local entrepreneurs and create the ecosystem to help them. Because the other problem you see with countries today is where there are very good entrepreneurs, they end up leaving their country where the problem is, and they end up going to a more developed country where they'll get the support. They've got the accelerators and the hubs. Sorry, this keeps on getting switched off. They've got the accelerators and hubs and everything, but they need to stay within the country. So the governments need to support these entrepreneurs, give them the ecosystem for them to remain there and to create their solutions within the country for where they find where the problem is, and they're creating the solution for. Regulations, everyone hates regulations. Right, but I'm a person coming from the financial sector that supports regulations. Why? Because regulations are to protect investors, and they're there to ensure that the people you give your money to are using that money in the right way. So I think regulations from an investor's perspective is very important. But sometimes regulators just get carried away and they just over-regulate, and that creates a problem for entrepreneurs. And I think it's very difficult to have that balance, but you need to try and find a balance both for protecting investors, but also making it easy enough for entrepreneurs to come out with their solutions and to be able to raise that money and spend that money in the right way.
Oh, great, thank you. Mr. Aydin, what do you think? What are the main problems here? What are the impediments here that we need to solve in order to get this ball rolling?
Well, it's there will be different there are different problems, I think, from each perspective side. From the investors' perspective side, our experience is, of course, it's somehow a new area, a new land. Impact investing is now very common in the last years, especially after 2015, when they were set up the 17 SDGs. The country started to create offices and committees to force impact investment to reach the 17 sustainable goals. I think the size of the projects is not big enough for institutional investors from one side, what we have also been experienced, and the trust in impact investment projects and also the risk. But we see now somehow a new rise of young entrepreneurs who want to solve social problems in a more beneficial and effective way, and get involved with these projects personally, because they identify themselves. We see it when we work with young students in Africa or in the Middle East. We see that the projects they create are majority have like a social value behind it. And because they have been through poverty, they have been through problems and challenges, and they see now the solutions, how they can tackle the solutions in order to create a safe and better and nicer environment for their communities. And I think we need a much stronger network between impact investors, entrepreneurs, and local entities and communities.
Agreed, agreed. I also think that in order to strengthen this ecosystem, we need the private sector, the public sector, NGOs, academia, all of them working jointly, hand in hand, supporting one another, as synergies are required, especially for impact investment. Madam, what strategy should impact investors and fintechs adopt to enable long-lasting, fruitful deals? We want the deals to stick, to be fruitful and long-lasting. So what is necessary for making this ecosystem sustainable?
Strategies that it was a very unclear question. So investors and fintech startups, what strategy they do need to?
What strategy should both fintechs and investors adopt to enable long-lasting deals between them?
Okay, first there must be an attractive problem to be solved in which both of them believe. So the entrepreneur needs to be an intrinsic entrepreneur solving this problem and dreaming about this as their life dream about his entrepreneurial project. And the investor should recognize that. So this investor does not necessarily to call himself an impact investor, but he should recognize and see the opportunity. What is here to be said between the two? It's the point of investing. Especially investing means putting money and coming out with more money. It's not about developing a collaboration to last for ages. Every investor wants to put money and exit with more money, and in this impact case with more impact. So what needs to last is the project, and it's the sustainability, and me as an impact investor, I would be the happiest if I could exit after a period with the financial surplus, with the impact achieved, and with that I'm ensured that this company is now sustainable and that it will continue growing, providing impact and earning money for itself. So this would be the strategies that we that we first find each other, that we work together for a needed period that should have an end, that the investor exits, and that the story stays and grows.
Thank you. Mr. Aydin, what do you think is necessary for making this ecosystem sustainable? How can we increase sustainability in impact investment?
The investors, first of all, need to understand, from my point of view, if they invest in social or social impact projects, that the return, or they should be interested in social return rather than only financial return. And for the entrepreneurs, they need to understand that if they want to help or create a solution for a social problem, that they need to have a business model which is not very aggressive for the users, for the potential users in the future to use that solution or that platform. But they should include a business model where they can at least coverage their expenses and include a kind of a revenue in order to reinvest it in the social good. Because lots of social impact projects who generate a revenue, they should include a model where they can reinvest in the same system. Especially we, from our startup Adonic, we have a for-profit social impact project where we included generate income, and part of the income will be reinvested in the project to support more social good projects through the same platform. And I see there we have to be more innovative and create new ways and solutions. And I'm very confident that there are lots of good ideas around. I'm in touch with a lot of young people, with a lot of tech people who started to do some volunteer programming, for example, some volunteer work for blockchain projects that focus on social good. And they have very cool ideas, very great ideas implemented into their systems where they can reinvest and generate, and plus being sustainable. And being sustainable, it needs to reduce costs, operational costs. And with technology, we have opportunities to reduce overhead and costs and being more sustainable. So it's quite a challenge. It's not easy, but I think there are possible ways.
Great, thank you. Tahir, what do you think should be the strategy?
I think we need to educate. As I said, it's very important. I think we need to show the young tech guys, the entrepreneurs, what the problem is, because the whole purpose of an entrepreneur is to find a problem and create a solution for it. If we're not educating them around what the problem is, they're not just going to go out and create a solution and hope the problem comes to them. So that's one aspect of it. The second aspect is investors. We need to give investors confidence that social impact investing makes a difference. Both from one, solving a problem, so the money they're putting in is actually reaching the problem which they're trying to solve. And secondly, from a returns perspective, yes, we've spoken about profit, and if we can show that there is some kind of profit coming from social impact investing, that will create confidence in investors as well. So I think we need to tackle both the entrepreneurs to get them interested, and then from investors to show them that the money they're putting in is actually making the difference.
Lovely, thank you. Madam, what are you doing in this framework? Can you give us some personal examples from the field so we can get a sense of it?
Of an impact project?
Over impact investment in general.
Well, we are one of our deal flows in which we will invest this year for sure is a fintech project, and it's an agricultural project. And I will tell you who the guy is. The guy is a 17 years old boy from Rijeka, from Croatia, who, when you said we need to educate programmers about the problems, and I say again, it has to come intrinsic. He is he was a very creative child. He's a third child in the family. He was very creative, working a lot on robotics, very tech kid. And he is one of these superstars, and he was very advanced. But he intrinsically as a person is worried about the planet. And he is worried about the dirty sea, and he's worried about clean water and the food. And somehow he has started a project of the food containers, of growing food in the containers in which the climate is programmed and the conditions are completely controlled. So he has dozens of harvestings of salad in 1 year in that container. And where is the social impact here? It is because if you fix that container in an island, even at home in Croatia, he's got a big sales potential because we have thousands of islands and you need to carry food to the groceries there. And if he places the containers only to Croatian islands, there would already be the sales, and the quality of life of the people in those remote areas would be improved. I'm telling Croatia in the middle of Europe. So we brought him last year to the startup competition to this congress, and there was a queue of the people from interested investors from Africa for him. Sabeta, you remember him. Because this is solving a climate problem. This for them it is a solution. So his project was in an idea stage 1 year ago. Then we really took him and accelerated the whole team, and they are ready now to be patented, and we will start with the sales next year.
Congratulations.
So yeah, and it was not finding an agriculturally conscious person and finding a programmer, and it was in and this is a founder. He's a real founder, and I'm telling you, he's 18 now.
Wow. Different generation.
Yeah.
They grow up much faster for sure.
Yeah.
We don't have much time left, so if I could just get a couple of last points from you, Tahir.
Look, I think social impact investing is something quite new, but it's this much. But it's as big as this room, you know, compared to where it is today. It's an area that is really growing to grow, but we need to keep at it. We need to keep going to investors and trying to get money out from investors, and it needs to start small. So first looking at personal finances, friends, family, angel investors, and then move up. I speak to a lot of the global funds, and they are interested in social impact investing. They're interested in ESG. So a lot of them haven't set their funds up yet, but they're educating themselves, and I think we will get there. So it's an area that will grow quite exponentially, I think.
Thank you. Anil, Severios, any last messages you would like to share with us?
Yes, I totally agree with all the speakers, and I don't have something concrete to say as last word. I just thank for this wonderful event, for the panel, and all the organizers, and especially that you focus on social impact, that it is part of this event, because it's the only thing that really makes a direct impact and direct change in the people on the bottom billion who live under the poverty line, who are affected. And I think as more we focus on social impact, as better the world will be.
Agreed. Awareness is key.
Awareness.
And that's why it's good we're all here. Thank you for your time again, madam. Do you have any last points?
Well, I think all is said. Awareness is important, and educating everybody is important. Educating investors, building trust with them, and also educating entrepreneurs.
Super. Well, lovely to have you. Thank you for your time again, everyone. Much respect, and thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of the conference, please.
Yes.
Thank you.